Good morning, friends. It is another day at the Gimbal World Headquarters and another day of our Friday market update. Doug Shreve this week is out of the office. We got our guest Kevin with us today. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you.
We've got a lot going on today, and so Kevin's going to have a lot to input to offer. Doug is volunteering at a thing called the Great Banquet. It is a huge deal. It's bringing hope and life to a lot of people. And we'll catch him next week, and hopefully he's having a great day today. So, Kevin, thanks for joining us. I put the risk up there for you all, the safety disclaimers, and we were having a discussion before this thing kicked off, and I said friends are expensive because it's a wedding time. It's wedding weekends. And what was your conclusion? How much does a average wedding cost for a groomsman these days?
For a groomsman, so with tux rentals, if you're going to be buying your own suits, if you bought them for previous weddings, everything like that, to be a groomsman, I'd probably say with bachelor parties, anywhere from about $400 to about $800.
Yeah, and so that's the groomsman side, and we were getting some feedback from the bridesmaids. And what was the number you heard on that one?
For the bridesmaids, shocking, $10 to $2,500.
$1,000 to $2,500. Wow. Yeah, friends are expensive. They're worth it, but be careful out there when you get involved in those weddings. They can run up some bankroll for you, particularly for those of you that don't have a lot of bankroll to share right away. So I feel your pain. I mean, I don't know if you can see this on my sleeve here. I got a little bankroll right there. Can you see what that says there, Kevin?
That is Casey and I's wedding day.
And that day is what?
March 23rd.
March 23rd, 3/23/23. This young man became my son. Kevin McLean is a great man, and he is just an honor to have here today. I'm going to jump in some market ideas before we actually get into our dialogue, and then I can give you my full attention. I hope you guys are all enjoying your Friday morning, and hopefully you've got some really interesting opportunities this weekend. I'm going to share the screen here and show you what's going on in the market. Last week, Doug and I were talking about the idea that the market has been narrow, Kevin, and what that means. The S&P 500 is a group of 500 different stocks, and if we were to pile those stocks on my desk, they would all look different in the way that they're spread out. And I've got a screen I can share with you all to point this out a little bit more. Give me a second here so I can figure out how to move it. And the best way I can show you how the market works is this screen right here. This is today's live activity on the S&P 500, I believe. This is all indices. Let me get just specifically to the S&P 500. So this square from right here where my cursor is to this corner from the top to the bottom represents 500 stocks. Okay. And if you had a bucket of all these stocks and it gave you some valuation, each one of these blocks represents how much of that money is in that particular company. So Apple is a big portion of the S&P 500. Microsoft is a big portion. There's two parts of Google down here: Tesla, Adobe, Salesforce, NVIDIA. All these comprise the S&P 500. And probably if you look at these, I don't know, how many of these big ones jump out at you, Kevin?
I'd probably say a dozen or so.
Yeah. So at least 12 are going to represent a third of the total S&P 500 market value. And that's what they're saying. When they say it's a weighted index, it's talking about the weighting, WEIGHTING, of those particular companies. And so just because a stock is going up, it doesn't mean the market's going to go up. If Microsoft goes up or Apple or Google, they could drive the whole index up, and the rest of these could be red. And you can kind of see over here that there's quite a few of these that have a kind of a dark red color to them. See that over here?
Yeah.
And that just simply says those stocks are down. But at this moment, the S&P 500 is up 0.5%, even though more than half of these stocks look to be down to me.
Yeah, the majority of the board, I'd probably say 50-50, with a lot of the smaller ones being in the red.
Yeah. And so when you have that kind of thing, when just a few of the companies are driving the market, that's what you'll hear people saying, that's a thin market. And that's what we've had for most of 2023. And so that's what's going on in the S&P today. Let me shrink this down, and we're very, again, let me go back to the chart before we move onward. What we were talking about last week is we wanted to see this market tighten up. And so it's tightened up right here, that there wasn't a lot of motion like we saw over here. We saw the downswing, the upswing, the downswing, the upswing, and so on. And then it finally started flattening out a little bit here. And then the last week it got really tight, and it's moving up a little bit out of that. And so we're beginning to get more optimistic on the broader market, the S&P 500. The NASDAQ, if I pull that up for you quickly, it continues to be moving upward and leading the way. And then last week I was pointing out where the smaller companies were really struggling. And probably about the time we got off the air, they jumped up really big last week. And so we've got really our eyes more on the small companies as well. So a lot of things are turned the corner in just a short time as a week in the marketplace. And so we're pretty excited about what may be going on near term, and we'll be acting accordingly for you and your family. Let's see here. Anything else that jumps? Oh, there's another indicator that I've used for you all in the past. This is an indicator of the breadth of the market, or how narrow it is. And this is one I do every week. And it basically says in our database that we have 9,692 stocks. Of these, how many of them are trading below their 250 or 21-day moving average? And most of the year, we've had most of those. The yellow ones are the ones that the majority are trending below those moving averages. And just in the last week, right now, we've got all three of those markers that are trading more heavily above them, which is very optimistic for us. So we'll just see how this moves forward and how we begin to take advantage of it more and more each day. And if you all have questions on any of that, don't hesitate to give us a call back at Gimbal. All right, Kevin, let's talk about life here. So Kevin, we met how long ago?
We met about four and a half years ago.
Okay. And Kevin started dating my daughter Casey back then. And how did you guys meet?
So we actually met on a dating app called Bumble.
Okay.
I was at Fort Campbell, she was at Murray. The distance, straight line miles is about 50 miles. So it was within both of our circles, and we both ended up swiping on each other. And here we
hold on. We're the people on here. We're older. We need to know what does swiping mean?
So Bumble, but there's like a tier for dating apps. It's I'd probably say like what, Hinge is a new one now.
Okay.
And then Tinder, and then Bumble, and then probably like eHarmony or something.
Okay.
What is it? Christian Farmers or Farmers Only.
Okay.
Is probably top tier. But
Okay.
Bumble was pretty, in my opinion, pretty successful from at the time. So by swiping, you swipe, I can't even remember.
So you'll have a picture of somebody and you can swipe one way that says I'm interested, or you don't swipe at all.
Yes.
If I'm interested, you just swipe it. Is that how it works?
Bumble it's different from Tinder. So Bumble actually gave like a whole description on, like, you scroll and it says like everything about the person.
Okay.
But Tinder, it's usually just like a small cookie cutter thing that you can just put in there.
But so what you're on, you would somehow move your finger and then say, this person I'm interested in.
Yeah, I think it was a swipe right for.
Okay. So then you guys both swiped right, and you have each other a thumbs up. And so then you guys get a date, and then you're dating, and then you meet me.
Yes.
All right.
So just about
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys can imagine how technology has changed, that Kevin and Casey, that they're using these phones all the time. And old guys like me, I'm like trying to figure this out. And then this guy then tells me he met my daughter on the phone. So you can imagine what I might have been thinking about him. The saving grace Kevin had was he was serving our country in the military in Fort Campbell. And we probably, I don't know, what did we make, 3 or 4 trips down there?
Yeah, I'd probably say several.
Yeah, and so that's that's how we began to get to know Kevin more. And then before long, Kevin became part of the family. He was around regularly, traveling with us, and then on 3/23, he became actually part of the family, and we're glad to have him join forces with our family. And so it's an honor to have Kevin here. I want to talk to you a couple things. One, talk to me about the military. You were how old when you got in the military?
So I joined in 2016. I was military police 31 Bravo. And then I ended up doing basic training and advanced individual training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Following that, I was then stationed to Korea. I spent a year in South Korea at Camp Humphreys. And then following that, I had my pick of the litter on pretty much anywhere I wanted to go. And I chose Fort Campbell, one, because I was closest to Northern Illinois on where I grew up, but also two, to be part of the 101st. That was a big goal of mine. My grandpa was in Vietnam with the 101st, so I wanted to be there.
Yeah, what an honor. And so you were 18 then when this journey began? 18. And so then Kevin and I were using Chat GPT a few weeks ago, and Chat GPT tried to tell me that he wasn't part of the 101st. And then we kept pushing it, and it finally said, well, actually, yes, he was part of the 101st, right?
Yes, it is. It was a tricky. So if I can explain a little bit on that, the 716th Military Police Battalion is attached to Fort Campbell, but its home is in Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Okay.
Like it's actual brigade, our old brigade command.
Okay, but technically it is part of the 101st, and so we had to beat on Chat GPT to get it to finally say that to us. So as an 18-year-old, and your choice was military or something else, what was it about the military that intrigued you that you would go that way at that point?
So at the time I turned 18 and actually going to the recruiter's office and everything. I had 2 out of my 3 brothers were actually serving at the time. So one was in the Army and infantry at Fort Bliss, and then the other one, I think it was overseas at the time in Turkey. And so that their leads kind of stirred you to follow their footpath. 100%, yeah. Okay, nice. And so we've talked about the federal government trying to do this loan forgiveness on our show in the past, and how we're against that because there's a lot of creative ways that you can get from point A to point B with your education. And so in Kevin's example, you committed to the United States government for how many years in the military? 5 years active, 3 years in active reserve. So you're in the reserves now, right? Technically in active reserves. I just have to talk with a recruiter who really pushes me to be in the reserves. And then if there's any meetings or anything that I have to go to, then I have to do that. Okay. But pretty much I'm out. Okay. And so then by serving your country for those 5 years, does the government give you anything to incent you to go to college now? Yes, 100%. So in basic, they had the option of the Montgomery GI Bill, which is you pay $100 a month for 13 months. And then they'll pay you. There's a whole lot of benefits into that. I'm not going to get all into that. It's very complex. But the main one is the post 9/11 GI Bill, and that's what I'm using when I'm going to Murray. So if you attend 12 credit hours, which is full time, they pay you per zip code. So in Murray 42071, it's about $1,200 a month each month that you're in college. Okay, so they be in the military, pays you to go to college. Then pays me to go to college, and also pays for college. Okay, so it's okay. They're definitely forking over a lot of money for me. Okay. So there's a way that if somebody wanted to use their creativity, they didn't have to stack up a lot of student loans to get through college. In my opinion, if you're able to serve, joining the military and doing your contract is the easiest way to a free college. Okay. And so now you started at Murray State when? I started Murray State fall of 2021. 2021, so we're 2 years in now? Just about 2 years. Okay. And so when will you graduate then? I'm going to be graduating next spring. So you'll graduate in 3 years? In 3 years, yes.
And why did you have to do extra, or how's that happening?
So with being in the military, my JSPs, my joint service transcripts, some of my military like training and everything like that, I went to basic leaders course, and also basic training had a whole bunch of college credits that applied to my degree.
Okay,
So with my degree in marketing, I'm going to have a lot of extra credits only because of the mandatory class I need to take, but because of all the training that I had that transferred over.
great, great. So Kevin is an example of an individual that served our country, that has brought honor to who we are by his efforts. And as a result, as a country, we've paid him for his time while he was in the military, and we've incented him as a nation to move onward with what skills he has and upward. And we were having breakfast a few months ago with another former military fellow, and he was just pointing out to Kevin and myself that the skills that Kevin learned in the military were some of the highest sought after ones in the workforce today. The discipline, the ability to follow orders, the ability to get things done, all those attributes, you probably had a level of those before you got into the Army, but I'm guessing they were reinforced with your time.
Yeah, during basic, you really were kind of broken down, and then not even after basic, but throughout the entire time, they build you up to just be the best you possibly can be.
So
I think
when
that's the Army motto now: be all you can be.
okay, yeah, I think I've heard that for most of my lifetime, but when you say break you down, I assume they're trying to break down the selfishness in you to build you up to be more of a selfless team member, or what does that mean?
100%. So they break you down physically and mentally. Break you down. So like, in order to build you up right, you need to have a good base. So for if you were to destroy the selfishness and to just really build you up from a whole brand new set, so that everyone shares that basic building block in order to be built up.
Nice.
That makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. That's I think most training, you have to get rid of the stuff that you're thinking wrong and then build back with the correct way of seeing things. One of those sayings is practice does not make perfect, perfect practice makes perfect. So if you're practicing something that's wrong, you're perfecting something wrong. And so that the military breaks down the things that are wrong and builds you back up properly, it sounds like.
100%.
Okay. Well, that was one of the things I wanted to just throw out there to you all as you're thinking through possibilities of creatively helping others think about their future, not having to go into a great amount of debt. Plus, there's probably something to be said with a different level of maturity when you started into the college process. You're 4 or 5 years older than everybody else.
Yeah, give or take.
I don't know if they call you grandpa or what they do there, but the fact that you're there for a purpose, you're not probably playing around when you're sitting in the classroom.
Have these people paying for these classes and yet they all skip.
Yeah.
Just mind boggling.
Yeah. Well, maybe somebody other than himself is paying for it. I don't know. Well, let's move on a little bit then. Appreciate that insight and the ideas. One of the things that we put into I've got a copy of it here. We put in this month's anchor was there's a headline that says, do you have a 529 or a better college savings plan? And with the Secure 2.0 Act that the government passed, they answered some of the questions for you all, that if you put too much money in a 529, what happens with it? And according to my understanding of the rules and regulations now, that if you overfund a 529 and the beneficiary gets done with college with excess money in the 529, once it's been in that account, in that name of that beneficiary for 15 years, then the beneficiary can roll up to $35,000 into a Roth IRA. And so that's a huge benefit to help people with those college expenses. We've given them an example with how military can help with college expenses. The 529 can help with college expenses. And now the 529 can also help with retirement expenses by having excess money that once it's been there 15 years can go into the Roth IRA. Big deal, big opportunity. If you have questions, give your Gimbal Financial experts a call and we can help you navigate that territory yourself. I got something else for you here, Kevin.
All right.
Let's put this up here and blow it up a little bit if I can. How do I get this bigger? You zoom.
If you, in the bottom right, the zoom, do you see him?
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I need you around every week. I'm gonna boot Doug. Doug, you're out of here. Well,
You can hit the plus arrow on the far right.
I'm getting there, friends. Patience. Like one more. All right, here we go. Sharing this with you. This here is the life of a typical American, and it's done in dots. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this, Kevin.
I don't think I had.
So each dot on the top of this screen is a week, and each line is a year. So each line is 52 dots, 52 weeks, 1 year. And so what this is broken down is life for you in the form of dots and weeks, and to make it very specific. So the early years are the blue, elementary school, middle school, high school, and then college. And Kevin's probably just a little bit down here because he put in something in between those two. And what it points out is that there's an intentionality necessary in life, because it's coming at you fast, and your career may seem like it's a big, thick portion of your life, but in fact, probably the portion of your life you've already lived is probably half the size of a career. So what you've already got behind you, you flip that over and you're going to be halfway through your career, which is mind-boggling how fast that happens. And so I saw this example and was just pointing it out to some friends recently to encourage them to think through the brevity of life and the importance of every single opportunity that you have. I don't know if you ever seen anything quite like this.
I haven't. I understand that life is finite, but sorting it all out to dots on a little life chart.
I was looking here, I think this green dot right here is the average age that somebody can drive, and this one 2 years above it is the average age somebody can drive in South Dakota. Yeah, so if you're in South Dakota, you got some young drivers out there, and so all of this just says life is short, it's quick, it's coming at you fast, and that you should make the most out of not only every single week but every day. And so just want to encourage you all just to enjoy this weekend and things that are coming ahead of you. Couple other economic things I was going to point out. A whopping 82% of the potential home buyers or sellers right now say they feel locked into their current home because of a low mortgage rate. And I throw that out there to you because I just don't know what that's going to mean to the housing market in the years ahead. If somebody's got a 2 or 3% mortgage out there, they may not be willing to sell their house. So we could see a section of the housing market that's just locked up for the long term. I don't know if probably what would free it up would be their incomes going up, the value of the house going up, so that they can maybe transition into something else. But if somebody locked into a house for 30 years at 2 or 3% with mortgage rates up around 7%, they may not be selling those houses anytime soon. And finally, the month of June is World Alzheimer's Appreciation Month, or just to pay homage to those families that are dealing with it. And I just want to give a marketing plug to Coach Boyle's playbook for Alzheimer's caregivers. If you've not ever been made aware of this, and you've got a family member with dementia or Alzheimer's or something, this is a great resource. We've got a couple of them here at Gimbal. So if you know somebody that's struggling with Alzheimer's or dementia, we'd be happy to get this to you, because there's some really helpful ideas that if it's brand new to you, it can be a little intimidating, can be a little frustrating as a family. It could be a lot of emotions and anxiety involved. And the Alzheimer's Association is more than happy to help you. But Coach Broyles was the football coach at Doug's Arkansas. He's a big Arkansas guy, and Coach Broyles put this out as a gift to people to help them through some of the things he learned through his struggles with his wife. So Alzheimer's Appreciation Month, be sure to lend a hand to anybody that knows is struggling out there. Kevin, thanks not only for your service, but thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I hope to have you back another time. Maybe when I'm not here, Doug can ask you some questions that are more probing even than mine. All of you that joined us today, thanks for hanging out. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you real soon. Call us if you got any questions.